Hello there, my name is Christopher Marino and I want to talk about my EE250 final project that I made with my partner Imtiaz Udin. As you can see in the screen right now, the main diagram of kind of what happens with what happens in the process during the program and during the events. So the main node or the main client in question is the RPi. It sends a request to an Azure server, although it can be tailored towards any cloud VM as long as it's running Linux. And then it obviously gets a response back from the Azure cloud. It receives a link to a photo that is a graph, a time v price graph for the Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency Bitcoin. In addition, it also gets it sends out responses to the LCD, and it gets a request from the button that is interaction from the user. It also sends out a response to the buzzer, green LED and red LED. So I guess a small note is that LCD prints out the actual Bitcoin price in the USD currency. So whatever the price conversion is, it'll print it out on the LCD screen. And once the user presses the button, it'll update on the LCD. So if it's gone up or down, or if it stayed the same, it'll stay the same. And if it goes up, the green LED lights up and the buzzer goes along with it. It turns on the buzzer. Likewise, if it goes down, the red LED turns on and the buzzer goes off. Or the buzzer makes a noise. It's a better way to say it. Now, in the case where no change happens, the green and red LEDs stay the same. So all of that is done locally on the RPi. Meanwhile, while the user's pressing and checking out the updated price, in the background, it's actually keeping track of a timestamp of when the user actually updated the price and saves that price to that correlated timestamp in a dictionary, which the first time it originally needs 9 presses to get the next step executed. But after that, it usually just takes 10 presses. Or not usually, it takes 10 presses. So once that next process happens, is through a TCP client, it pickles the file and sends it over to the Microsoft Azure TCP server. And within that server, it unserializes the pickle file and then sends over that data to a plot pi file, which then plots the data points correctly in the time domain, and then saves it as a PNG, which then passes it over to the Imgur API, which then puts a post request, and in return, if it's successful, code 200. If the Imgur API is up and everything, we will get a link to the actual Imgur uploaded screenshot, which then gets returned to the server. And then in turn, the server serializes that and returns it to the client through TCP, which then it prints it out on the user's RPi terminal, which then the user can copy and paste the link into their into the selected browser and view their actually recently trend line for the Bitcoin price. So now moving on to the actual demo, you can see here that the price is 54,497 with 16 cents. I just pressed the button, both lights went off. That means there was no change. And it keeps going on for this for a good, couple of seconds. It is recommended that to see an actual change, you wait a couple of seconds, just for the fact that, Bitcoin being a currency, if you try to pull it every millisecond, it might not change immediately, as there are a lot of things happening in the blockchain. But of course, that is another subject. So every, couple seconds, it should result in a different value. If you do it too fast, obviously, like I said, it'll stay the same. So now moving on to the actual receiving side, once you have completed the 10 required polls, you'll get a link on the left side. You can see the Azure terminal. It tells you it's been connected by a certain IP address and in what port. The right terminal actually shows the display output for the RPi. As you can see, we received the link, and if you paste that link into the browser, you get a graph. It seems kind of off just because, like I said, if you do it too fast in short amount of periods of time, there won't be that much change to actually account for. So if you want to see the greatest change in price, you might want to wait a couple seconds. Currently, it's kind of sped up where I'm doing 10 times over again off the camera, but I will show the resulting graph that the Azure instance returns to the RPi in the right terminal. So as we can see, it connected and it returned a graph. So we will copy that and paste that into our browser. And as we can see, the graph is actually a little bit different now. We could actually see somewhat of an upward trend going on in this specific time domain. So that is our EE250 project. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully we get a good grade.